Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tucson Bird Alliance presentation of Bird the World with Tucson Bird Alliance. My name is Donito Burgess. I'm the community engagement manager here at Tucson Bird Alliance. I'm joined this morning by a couple of my colleagues, Luke Safford, our director of engagement, and Jennie MacFarland, our director of bird conservation. We're also joined by three wonderful guides, Brian Gibbons with Victor Emmanuel Nature Tours, Peg Abbott with Naturalist Journeys, and Rob Ritma with Saberwing Nature Tours. And you'll hear from all of them a little bit later. And so with that, just again, welcome. Thanks for being here. And I'll turn it over to Luke. Luke, you ready?
Yes, sir. You can see the screen. It's all good right there.
Yeah, we got you.
All right. Hey, you want to go ahead and mute everyone too, and then people can just unmute themselves when they have unmute myself. There we go. All right. Rock and roll. Well, welcome everyone. Really grateful for everyone who's here, both presenters and people who are attending and looking and thinking about joining us on a future field trip, tour, international tour, or domestic tour with one of our three great partners here. It's we, if you've ever been to our Southeast Arizona Birding Festival and you walk to the Nature Expo, you see a lot of different tour companies. There's a lot of different options out there, a lot of great companies. Uh, but today we're really focusing on these three partners that we have: Saberwing, Naturalist Journeys, Victor Emmanuel Nature Tours. Each one of them has a real special partnership and friendship with us, and there are our partner tour companies. And so we want to kind of focus on the opportunities that you have with Tucson Bird Alliance to be on one of these tours and to give feedback and to give to speak into different places where we might go in the future. And we'll also have a little bit of time with people who have been on some of these tours that give you an idea of what to expect. And what it really comes down to, you do have so many different options. When I was thinking about this, there's really like four real main things that come to my mind when it comes to why join Tucson Bird Alliance on one of these partner international domestic tours. And it really came down to these four: the camaraderie, the reliability of the partners that we have, the expertise that they have, and then just how it not only do you get an amazing tour out of it, but you also get to have a hand and a role in supporting the work of Tucson Bird Alliance. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I do just want to kind of share a little bit about these four different areas as we think about why to join us. And then we're going to hear from a couple of the Tucson Bird Alliance ambassadors who have been on these tours before, to hear from them, and then from each one of our um, our leaders from our partners. And so yeah, I just threw it. I got it. Most of my pictures are people pictures, but I had to throw in rufous-throated tanager here is like one of my favorite birds when I was in Ecuador with Rob a few years ago, a couple of years ago. Um, so the camaraderie, every tour has this kind of scene right here. This is Brian from Victor Emmanuel Nature Tours with a group that went down to Puerto Vallarta last year, and you can kind of have a guess at what they're doing. They're going through the day's list and checking off all the different birds that they've seen. Everyone has a beer in hand, it looks like, or close to them, which is good. But the thing here is, looking at the people who are part of this, they they live in Tucson. There's volunteers. Dave Vleck right here, volunteer with Tucson Bird Alliance. His wife Carol next to him, volunteer. You see Barb. You see Art. Like, these guys are part of the Tucson Bird Alliance community and fabric. So, you know, many times when you go on one of these tours, you don't know who's going to join you. But in our case, part of the camaraderie comes from the proximity that we have already to each other and the common interests that we have, that go even beyond the birds. It comes to like the places that we love, the people we know, the nonprofits that we support, all of that. Uh, it gets, it's so much fun to be in a foreign country with people who you already know. And not all of us have family that can go along with us, but you do have a Tucson Bird Alliance family. And here you have Lisa and Peggy and Scott. Scott and Peggy, both field trip leaders. Lisa and Paul, they are part of who we are as Tucson Bird Alliance. And each one of these people have gone on multiple international partner tours with us. I think in large part, Peggy might be on the call with us right now, but I think they would say is because they know the people who they're going with and they enjoy being with them. They love having that commonality of being a part of an organization and having not being as surprised who's going to be on the tour with them. Here we're celebrating Peggy's birthday and her special cake that she had. And there's actually another birthday picture later on that Jenny shared when one of our, you'll see it coming up, but one of our retail shop, nature shop volunteers, Diane Rogers, was on that tour and they threw a birthday party for her too. So like it's these people that we know and love that go along with us. And here's me and Rob uh, sharing beers at one of my favorite spots ever, Termas de Papiacta. It's like, I think we were in the hot springs there. We had I think it was a black chested buzzard eagle or something like that fly over us. But it's just people that we know. And so the camaraderie that comes from doing one of our partner tours is like amplified than what you might have in doing a tour outside of Tucson Bird Alliance. So definitely a big positive of reason of why to do this. So also the reliability. Now what I'm going to show you here, I got three pictures. I got one of me and Peg. This is at the Southeast Arizona Birding Festival. Here's a picture of me and I decided not to do a picture of me and Brian at the festival, but this is actually his son, Grayson. And so, you know, and then we have Rob right here at the Southeast Arizona Birding Festival. So when it comes to reliability, again, there's other tour companies who are reliable, but these leaders are people you know, people that have skin in the game with us, people who, have the history and of being reliable, and you can talk to them. They're right there, rather than not knowing who is going to be the leader or who is setting this up or who is behind this tour that you're now a part of, and you're left kind of wondering. But you know who these people are, and so it's very reliable. And when you're spending a lot of money, you want someone that's reliable. You want someone who's right there. Expertise. I don't need to go too deep into this. I mean, uh, everyone on Saberwing, everyone on Vent, everyone on Naturalist Journeys, like the level of expertise of knowing birds and knowing where to find them, knowing how to look for them, they all have that. They all have that. I mean, as each one of them shares about the different countries and areas that they're leading trips to, I mean, you'll get a great sense right away that hey, these people know what they're doing. They know the birds. It's not just knowing the birds though; it's also knowing the people. So like they have a lot of expertise when it comes to setting these up. There's not any surprises, and you're not going to be disappointed with someone that you go out and they don't know where they're going. They know. This is Brian with a nightjar in Jalisco. He actually caught this sucker with a net. And that was one of the funnest nights that we had down there. Um, yeah, all above board for sure. And here's Andy and Potu. Can you spot where that's at? This is on a tour this is in Ecuador. And boom, there we go, right there. There it is, the Andean Potu. And they find the birds. They know them. And I think that really gives us a lot of they have a lot of credibility when it comes to that. So here's like, I mean, we have the camaraderie, the people we know, the reliability, the people we trust to lead us, the expertise to find the birds that we really, I mean, I think a tour is, I mean, yeah, you want to find the birds. You gotta find the birds. I mean, that's why we do it a lot of times. But one of the things that is totally different from any other tour, as opposed to our Tucson Bird Alliance partner tours, is that going on these tours supports the work that we're doing here in Southeast Arizona. So here's Carrie putting together some different plants to do a planting at Luna y Sol. It's a urban kind of coffee center here in South Tucson. And so the funds What you pay to go on these tours, a portion of that goes to Tucson Bird Alliance and helps to fund projects like this, like urban restoration, like putting in new septic tanks for the new Patton Center restrooms, which may be open tomorrow, which is pretty cool. That's why I wanted to include this one in here. And then also for like education outings that we do at Sweetwater or wherever, there's so many different things that Tucson Bird Alliance does, and you guys know about these. And many of you are already generous donors, both with your finances and with your time and your resources. And this is another way to be a part of that, is to be generous with your finances through the tour that you join with us and one of our partners. So it's the camaraderie, it's the reliability, it's the expertise, and it's just the support, the really uh, much needed support that we're so grateful for that comes from these tour opportunities. So I just want to go through those, and hey, I'm gonna hand it off to Jennie. Jennie has been on two different tours, both with Naturalist Journeys, one to Trinidad and Tobago, and one to Costa Rica. So Jennie, you want to share a little bit about your experience there?
Yeah, yeah, and just definitely building off what you were saying, Luke. It was amazing to me because I've done two of these now, and I did one in 2022. This one right here, Trinidad and Tobago, in June of 2022, and it was so fun. And some of the people who went on the trip did already know each other since it is very much, it was Tucson Bird Alliance group. But many of them did not know each other and became friends during the tour and are still friends. Some of them I know are still hanging out with each other, going birding with each other, and met on the trip and realized they lived quite near each other or had similar interests. So that's been really fun, is just seeing how well everyone got along during these trips and how cohesive the group became, and then how friendships even lasted, beyond the trip that were sparked on the trip. So this is when we were in Trinidad, and we were on a boat tour where we go out to see the scarlet ibises and the flamingos. Scarlet ibis, of course, being the sort of the hallmark bird of Trinidad and Tobago. Go ahead, Luke, to the next photo.
Did I see you guys were eating soup on that boat
Yeah,
too? I
yeah, it
saw.
was dinner. We had dinner on the boat. It was so
How do you
fun.
drink
It's
soup
like
on a
that
boat
table
like that? I
was
don't know.
attached. Yeah.
Sorry.
So it was like an evening tour out on the water to see the ibises and flamingos, and then you also get like a multi-course meal while you're doing it. It was pretty incredible. It was pretty amazing actually. This is when we were seeing the endemic bird, the Trinidad piping guan, which is a really cool, really fun experience, and got to all do it together as a group and watch them. The guans were up in these special trees. They were actually nutmeg trees, eating nutmeg, which I thought was one of the funnest details of the whole thing. But you can see the whole group together. Go ahead, Luke. And this is what you foretold. This is when it was Diane's birthday, and this was in the Costa Rica trip that we did in 2024 February with Naturalist Journeys. And I had known ahead of time that Diane's birthday was coming during this trip. So I did bring a birthday card and had everybody fill it out a day or two before the birthday. And then we had a big unveiling of the birthday card and everyone's well wishes. And they gave her sort of a special little meal, little dessert for because Diane doesn't like sweets. So we did a special sort of salad dessert for her at the dinner there in Costa Rica. That was really fun. And Diana was really, really happy about that. Go ahead to the next one. Yeah, this was also in Costa Rica when the whole group, it was really early too. This might have been day one or two of the trip. And we hiked up this hill, this pretty steep hill, getting good birds the whole way. And then from the top, we had good looks at a lovely cantinga, which was such a cool bird and one I'd always wanted to see, as a young person reading books about birds. Lovely cantinga, what a cool bird. And it was really fun. And this was sort of one of the first big successes we had on that trip as a group and really helped kind of bring the group together.
So you've been on two different tours, partner tours like this as the Tucson Bird Alliance ambassador. And so that's
Yeah.
one thing that maybe, just to emphasize too with everyone is that on each of these different tours that we do, um, our gracious partners actually help and pay for Tucson Bird Alliance ambassador to come along and to support and to lead. So you basically, Jennie and Danito and Alexis and myself, like we may not be the experts when it comes. We don't have the bird expertise for when we go down to those places. I mean, we should try, but we do have the people expertise down pretty good, I think, or we should. And so like that added touch of Jenny, you bringing that birthday card for Diane, and just like, the extra love and support that we bring you guys as you sign up for these tours and experience it. Hopefully that will be another additional reason to go with us. Jenny, what would you say has been uh, the thing that the biggest reason why you want to do one of these tours again?
Well, they are really fun. But I do come from a customer service background before I worked at Tucson Bird Alliance, and I do take it pretty seriously of trying
Yeah,
to be a facilitator and a helper on these trips. And like for I think it was the Trinidad and Tobago trip, I kept all the eBird lists and brought a scope so that everybody could use it, that
yep,
sort of thing. So yeah, I do
yep,
really try to make the trip as fun and smooth as possible, as sort of a helper on the trip.
yeah, yep. That's great. And where are you going next?
Well, hopefully
Peg
South
will share a
Texas,
little bit,
right?
but
In December, or perhaps maybe Peru in 2026.
Texas and Peru.
Yeah.
Awesome. And if you have you, what are you most excited about when it comes to Texas?
I am really looking forward to the potential of going to South Texas. I have been to South Texas several times, so I feel like this would be one where I have been several times and could actually be even a little more useful because I do know the birds down there and some of the sites and what to expect and all that. So that one I'm looking forward to is being a little more helpful in a guiding capacity. But yeah, man, Peru would be amazing too.
Yeah.
Never been.
Well, and Texas is not an international trip,
Of course
but
not.
it's
Yeah.
definitely a unique place that um, every birder deserves to go to, or may not deserve, but should go to.
Oh, it's a great
Yeah.
spot.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Sure.
All right, let's turn it over to Danito and his Belize trip with Brian and Victor Emmanuel Nature Tours last year. Or was that this year? When was that?
It was this year.
That was this year? Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
January to February of 2025. I know. But no, it was an incredible trip. So this is basically one of our riverside kind of lodges, cabins that Brian and I were staying in. This was at Black Rock Lodge, kind of in the western portion of Belize, a little bit more higher elevation. But there was I always tell a story about this. There was one night where we had howler monkeys basically hanging out above our cabin there, and it was kind of tough for Brian and I to sleep. And we kind of said, I don't think anybody's going to feel sorry for us if, we say, well, we couldn't get any sleep last night because we were in our riverside cabin and the howler monkeys were keeping us up all night. But that's just the kind of unique experiences you get. And so, yeah, you can see just a wonderful place. And then the food. Yeah, I do love food pictures. But the reason I took these really was because I have the palate of a 9-year-old. I am a very picky eater. And one of the things I was worried about, quite frankly, in traveling was adjusting to the food. I was worried, I wouldn't be familiar with it. It wouldn't sit right. Everywhere we went was absolutely incredible. I tell people by about day 3, I just quit asking what was in it because everything was just so good. I just threw up my hands and said, just put it in front of me. And it was amazing. So yeah, the food, the lodging, and we haven't even talked about the birds, but it's all just really, really first rate. All right, now this is one of my favorite pictures of the trip. This is like it's labeled here, a white hawk. This was a spot we went to a raptor lookout area. It was kind of higher elevation. And we were just kind of looking out and we had seen these, white hawks out in the distance. I think we saw one perched on a hillside, hundreds of yards away. And then just kind of out of nowhere from behind us, we just kind of saw a shadow and then looked up and this white hawk was basically just 30 yards above our heads. And it's just one of those memories. I wish you could see my arms. I literally get chills thinking about it. Just a wonderful bird and just takes me back there over and over. Makes me really, really happy. What's our next one, Luke? All right, again, green honey creeper. This was a bird I'd obviously never seen before. I got 165 lifers on my trip. So every single day I was seeing multiple birds I'd never seen before, incredible birds like this. This was at one of the lodges we stayed at. So you can see it was kind of right off of the dining room. They would put these fruits out there. We would have honey creepers. We had aracaris, aracaris out there. We had all kind of cool, incredible birds, just right, 5 yards away. I would like to think I'm probably one of the worst photographers in Southeast Arizona, but I was able to capture this. And so that just shows you how accessible the birds are. And so, yeah, this was truly a showstopper right here.
All right, Denny, I got one comment and one question for you.
Yeah.
I'll start with the comment. You should always question a little bit what is in your food. And Rob and I know that from experience from when we were in Ecuador and we had the Cadillac soup and we didn't really ask what was in the Cadillac soup. Rob, I'm sure you remember this, but there was like
Oh,
cow's
vividly.
foot. Wasn't it cow's feet?
It was. It was not good.
It
It was
was
not good at
it was
all.
the worst thing I ever had in my life. So if you're not sure, it's all right to ask. That's my comment. And then
Doesn't mean
my
you shouldn't try it. But you should ask.
Right.
yeah, you can try it, but yeah, ask. Asking you can ask in a very polite way and
Yeah.
come off as curious,
Right. Yeah.
in a curious way. It's all
No,
in how you do it.
it was all amazing. Well, and the other thing too was the service. We stayed at 3 different lodges on our Belize trip. The service that we received, the hospitality at each of the lodges was absolutely off of the charts. The first lodge we stayed at was Bird's Eye View, and they had recently had a major flooding event. And I'll say I don't think we saw them at their best because they were just so recently off of that event. But the staff could not have been more helpful. They had that place looking incredible. I mean, you could literally see the watermarks on the side of the wall from where that flood had come in, just literally a week before we had gotten there. And you wouldn't have known it. I mean, the rooms were immaculate, the food was great. And so again, I just wanted to put that because I know we touched on the guides, but the service and the hospitality at all of these places was incredible.
So my question is, in a couple sentences, if someone was on the fence about maybe doing one of these tours with us and our partners, what are 2 sentences you would say to convince them to join us?
It will exceed your expectations and you will make lifelong friends. I have been in regular contact. We had 12 clients on our trip. I've been in regular contact with all of them since we've been back. I've birded with, I think, 6 of them since we've been back. I'm actually going back. I'm from Texas. You can probably hear the accent. But I'm going back to Texas and I'm going to reach out. We had one of the gentlemen on our trips from Houston. I'm going to reach out to him, see if he'd like to go birding. And so it's these connections, I mean, you're seeing incredible birds, you're eating incredible food, staying in incredible places. But for me, the thing that I'm taking away is the connections. Just spending a great time with great people. That was more than 2
Awesome.
sentences.
Yeah, well, I was going to mention that, but that's great, man. Thank you so much. All right, let's move over to our different tour partners. So I tried to find some fun pictures of each of them. So this is Rob Ritma with Saber Wing Nature Tours, and he's got one of these 8998 butterflies on his face from when we're up on the tower in Ecuador. But we've done tours, Rob, with you to Ecuador. We've done a tour to Panama that our executive director went on. And then we have a few coming up that you're going to share about.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for being here. First off, we've really enjoyed getting to work with Tucson Bird Alliance on their tours around the world and excited to keep doing trips with them. It's always, as everyone said, really great groups and you meet a lot of great people on these trips. So we're always excited with our Tucson Bird Alliance groups. Our next, well, this is, I guess, okay, so we're going to Oaxaca first. So our
Yeah,
second
sorry,
upcoming trip,
I put them in the wrong order. That's on me.
it's okay. Our next 2 trips are already sold out. One's coming up really soon, one's in January. So the January trip is to amazing Oaxaca, Mexico, to see things like orange-breasted bunting. It's a great trip. We've Danito was talking a lot about the food, and when I think of food on a tour, Oaxaca is one of the first places that comes to mind for me of amazing food. So we love to combine the food, the culture, and the birds when we can.
And Alexis Stark, she was our volunteer coordinator. Now she's down in Patagonia, and I can't remember her new title down there, but she's on the call with us too. Alexis, what are you most looking forward to when it comes to Oaxaca in January?
Good question. I'm looking forward bird specific to seeing red warbler. And I would say the other aspect is the culinary part I'm excited for as well.
Great things.
Here's Chile.
So their other upcoming trip is with Luke, and we're excited to get down there in just a few weeks now at this point. Um, we'll be in Chile, going all the way from Santiago, burning our way down to Patagonia and Tierra del Fuego. Uh, I'm always especially excited about getting offshore in Chile and getting things like this Juan Fernandez petrel and all the albatross, like black-browed albatross being the more common of the albatross there. But Chile is another wonderful country with, it being not in the neotropics necessarily, a lower diversity of birds, but still very high quality birds throughout the country.
And
And
just as
then,
an example, just as an example of like the camaraderie that comes from these trips, like yesterday, I was leading our regular field trip at Sweetwater, and one of the people who are going on the Chile trip, Sirpa, she was there for the field trip. And then as we were walking around, we saw Peggy, who is also another person going on the field trip. And so like, it's just like this web of people, like you see these people at other times. So it makes it kind of cool. Sorry to interrupt you again,
yeah.
Rob. It's
Oh
my
no,
fault.
you're good. You can interrupt anytime, Luke. It's good. It's interesting because like the whole group, we've had a lot of people coming on almost all of the tours that we're running with Tucson on the same people. And so they're always trying to coordinate flights together if they live near each other. And so everyone, there is, like Luke talked about, a lot of camaraderie among the group. Always kind of, even though they're going to be together for a long time, they want to be together starting out the trip all the way from home. So it's really, really good. And then we are just about to announce our next trip, which will be in early 2027, which will be to Guatemala, which is incidentally one of my absolute favorite places in the whole world. Another place that is a great combination of birding, nature, and culture, with its heavy Mayan influence that still exists within the country. Our tour will be doing all the highland specialty spots for things like this pink-headed warbler, which right up there with Alexis mentioning red warbler is one of the best warblers out there. And then also, horn guan, which is always one of the most sought after species when you're going to Guatemala. And the trip will also include going up to Tikal, one of the most amazing Mayan sites up in the northern part of the country in Petén. And we should have details for that coming very soon. And I don't know if Luke's decided. I don't know who's coming on that trip from Tucson yet. I don't think we've gotten to that part yet.
We haven't gotten to that part, but pink, this bad boy right there, that pink-headed warbler. I mean, even more than horn guan. I don't know. Everyone has their favorites,
Everyone
but
has their thing. Pink-headed warbler is incredible. I love pink-headed.
right. Hey, we'll have opportunity to hear, questions more from, if you have questions for Rob, we'll get to those at the end when we open it up to everyone. But yeah, so how many times have you been to Guatemala, Rob? And then
Four, I think, right now. I think I've
four.
been to Guatemala 4 times. I'm going back in. Actually, I'll be in Guatemala just for a wedding and a little bit of birding in December. So
Who's like is there the local that you work with in Guatemala? What are their names?
our local company we work with is called Birding Expeditions, and our local guide is Minora Ovando, who I've been working with for years, and actually is who we're working with in Oaxaca as well. So Alexis will get
Great.
to meet Minor there.
Cool. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, and our local partners for all of these are very important. Great additions to the trips and very important, very, very important part of the logistics and everything for the tours. So don't want to forget them.
Yeah, in that picture of Peggy's birthday cake,
Yeah.
you could see, Edison right there. Just like he was the one celebrating the most there with her. Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, dude. All right, let's go
Yep.
to Peg, and here's that picture I pulled off of Facebook for you, Peg. Finally walking, getting your dogs out South Fork. Now, here's the beauty of Naturalist Journeys is that they're local. They're based right out of Portal. Their staff members are all around Tucson, and so that's one of the beautiful things about the partnership with Naturalist Journeys is that they're right here with us. So, Peg, you want to share a little bit about tours coming up?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Luke. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, good. Well, talking about both these locations, it looks like we're starting with Texas. And we put this one together to give people the opportunity to do something exotic without leaving the country. It's just not everybody's thing to get on a long flight and have the passport and do all that. And so we thought, what's the most exotic place in the US? And it really is the tropical feel that you get when you dip down into South Texas. And it's a great winter trip. So we tucked it into December. And the idea is whether you're an e-birder and you just want to get some more species before that end of the year, or if you're a nature enthusiast and you still want to see butterflies in early December, it does feel quite tropical down there. When you step off the plane in Corpus Christi, pretty soon you're on a boat gliding through the waters looking for whooping cranes, and they are extraordinary. And you learn the whole conservation story of how they're making a comeback slowly but surely. And they'll be leaving there in the spring to go back up toward the Platte River and on north. So that's what I love about the tours. There's lots of learning opportunity, whether it's skills or the backstory behind birds and their conservation. And this bird is worth the whole trip. We see green jays also all the way down into Ecuador, but they have so much personality, like any jay anywhere, but all those day glow colors together. And it's fairly common down there.
Yeah, Danito was just talking with Brian before we started about the grue jay. Have you heard of the grue jay that's down there? It's a green jay and blue jay interbred, and they call it the grue jay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, next one. All right, so let me just quick finish up on Texas. It's December 3 to 11, and it's a little bit longer than some companies do, but we wanted to tack on the portion out of Rockport so that you do get to see the whooping cranes. And then we dip down to the Texas coast, the area around Brownsville, where you're really close to the tropics and you hear red-crowned parrots and see them at their roost. And then we end up at a classic eco place called the Alamo Inn, and Keith Haglin has been really instrumental in conservation for that area. So we just want to go at a pace we can savor it. There's so much to see. So that's an 8-night tour, and it's a great one. So switching now to Peru.
There we go. And Danito, could you put in the chat? I can't really pull up the chat right now, but could you put a link in there to our international tours or partner tours page?
Do that right now.
Cool. Thanks, man. All right.
Okay, so we were brainstorming tours that have really profound ecological significance, and the biological corridor that exists in Peru, where it's a dirt road. It's a road that services those local communities all the way from Cusco up and over a high pass where it's tundra-like conditions in a place called the Puna. And then you drop down, down, down in elevation all the way to Amazonia, to the Amazon River, a tributary. And it's just so exciting in one time. And we start out, Machu Picchu is iconic, so we didn't put that in the main tour, but for anybody that wants to go there, it's easy to add on at the end. We have a 4-night extension. And Why do I have penguins in a Peru trip? I know it looks goofy. We're not going to Antarctica ahead of time, but we've learned over time we do fly from Lima together as a group up to Cusco, and we don't want anyone to miss that flight. So we designed something out of Lima at the start. And what better to go to an island, which is offshore from Lima. You drive about an hour and a half and get on these colorful little fishing boats and zip around what I call a baby Galapagos. It's just amazing. There's sea lions and Humboldt penguins and all kinds of birds on a little one-day trip in Lima that accesses the coast. Then you come back, and the next night we fly on up to Cusco. These lodges are, you get to really have time with local people. They're local naturalists, just like Tucson Audubon folks, but they're Ecuadorian, and they cook your meals and take you out on the trails. They'll run outside if there's an explosive flock of multiple tanagers. And at one of the lodges, which is actually named Cock of the Rock Lodge, right next door is a lek that is gated. And so it doesn't get a lot of visitation, just the people staying at the lodge and maybe a few other people coming down that road. But you get that kind of look of some of the most extraordinary birds. The birds are still very plentiful in Peru. It's heartwarming to go there and get out of the vehicle and see lots of birds.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that, Peg.
Okay, I
That's
think
all
I'm
me.
still on.
No, you are. You're good. I totally messed up. I meant to hit unmute for myself, and then I hit you. But I was going to ask you, what you've been to Peru a few times, right?
You know, I started 45 years ago, Luke. So yes, I've been to
Yeah, a few
Peru and
times.
Ecuador and
Yeah,
Bolivia,
that
all
was
of those a lot of
yeah.
times. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was underestimating there. But, the question is, what is your favorite bird that you're going to see on this tour?
Oh my gosh, that's like asking what's my favorite bird in Southeast Arizona. That's a really hard question. Um, oh gosh,
And
I
I'm gonna
like
look it up here. We're gonna
yeah, the
look it up together.
many colored bush tyrant is a little cutie that we see on that
Many
boat trip.
the
Colored
many
bush
colored
tyrant.
rush
Yeah,
tyrant?
rush tyrant. Isn't
Whoa.
he cute? So that is at a reserve just that very first day after we do the boat trip for the penguins. And it's one that I always want to see. It's hanging out in the marshes. It acts like a common yellowthroat, and then it jumps up in your face and looks like that.
Wow. Yeah, that is pretty. Do you see a lot of these or just like singles or?
We see probably 4 on that day, and that's typically it's a very localized species to those kind of cattail marshes. So just that one spot.
All right. Cool. And what would you say to someone who is thinking about why should they, from your opinion, why should they join one of our partner tours, Tucson Bird Alliance partner tours, rather than try to do something on their own outside of these opportunities?
Well, this trip in particular, Peru, would be very hard to do on your own because it takes a really skilled driver to negotiate that road, and then you're on a boat in that tributary of the Amazon. So just the logistics are handled for you. And so that's a really nice aspect of group travel. I already had my schedule when we decided on this, and I just enjoy working with Jenny so much. I thought, I think I'll be the first person to sign up. So
There you
I'm
go.
kind of on a busman's holiday, but I think the chance to have Jenny along and just she always takes everything in with so much enthusiasm, but also knowledge and insight. So I think having our local guide Percy is top notch. I mean, the last year they saw over 400 species going from the mountaintop down to the Amazon tributary. He's just amazing. But then to add to that, having Jenny there and myself as the founder of Naturalist Journeys, I think it's a really special departure. And then on Texas, we have Greg Butcher, who is career National Audubon Society. So longtime Audubon people might recognize Greg, and he actually really requested to be put on any special Audubon trip because he has a really deep root in the organization and conservation. So Jenny and Greg as a combo on that one will be really super.
Agree. Yeah, I agree. Thanks so much, Peg. And we'll, again, just like with Rob at the end, we'll have some time for, if you have specific questions about the Peru trip or the Texas trip or something else with Naturalist Journeys, Peg will be around to help respond to that. Thanks so much. All right, let's go to Victor Manual Nature Tours and Brian Gibbons, one of their, I would say, senior tour leaders and local right here in Tucson, Arizona, watching migration from his backyard on the east side. And Brian has led tours, international tours with us to Mexico and then also to Belize that Danito talked about. This is a picture I got of him on the Mexico trip. He goes out of his way to find those birds. You can see him going at it. So Brian, why don't you share with us what's going on with Victor Manual Nature Tours and partnering with Tucson Bird Alliance?
Well, like you guys have said, I really enjoyed my first two trips with you guys, one with Luke and one with Danito in Mexico a couple years ago with Luke. And then I was kind of surprised, Danito, that was this year, 2025, that we were in Belize, January, February. So those trips went really well. And we're starting a new trip, or we're advertising a new trip with Tucson Bird Alliance to the Western Andes of Colombia. And here's one of the featured birds that we would look for in that. Multicolored tanager. That's an amazing looking thing. And one thing that I didn't have in the itinerary, although we have where we're staying, we stay up to 1,600 meters. I know sometimes folks are concerned about high elevation stuff. And so we do go up to probably 10,000 feet birding in Colombia to take in all those different life zones. So Colombia might not be the best bet for you in at least this itinerary. So be aware of that for folks. We have a lot of feeder setups for hummingbirds and tanagers. And the barbets, I don't know which photos Luke included in this trip. I gave him a whole suite of them. That's not a feeder bird, but hopefully we'll catch them displaying. But so originally the tour is titled Hummingbirds and Tanagers of the Western Andes. So we should see 260, 270 species, lots of great photo opportunities. I had Danito put early on in the group chat there the link to the eBird trip report from a similar trip. Ours will be another day longer, so maybe be a bit longer than that. But that trip had 265 species and more than 100 illustrated with photos between David Escaño, the guide, and a couple of clients that were really busy photographers. So obviously great photo opportunities and some really cool birds in cloud forest down to pre-montane and lower elevation forest.
Am I still sharing the Motmot or
Yep,
can
the
you guys...
Motmot's up.
Okay, let me change the share here. I think this would be kind of fun. I think you'd like this. All right, so here's the actual trip report that you linked to us. And so this gives you an idea of, it's got a whole rundown here. Holy cow, that's a long rundown. What bird do you want me to click on here, Brian, and see pictures of? What bird are you when you look through this, you're like, oh snap, that's the one I want to see.
Well, what's totally changed in my birding career, I've been at it for 40 plus years now, is the idea of feeding stations and these uber rare birds. So you were actually kind of up there, that chestnut wood quail. Between the ant pittas and wood quail and even the tinamou above that, these are birds that sometimes you hear, for years, birding Andean forests or tropical forests, ant pittas, wood quail. And even now, I'm heading to Brazil in a few weeks. they have crakes that come to feeding stations. So these birds were like impossible to see 10, 15, 20 years ago. You would hear them many, many times. But just this whole evolution of the amazing knowledge of local guides that we obviously will employ in Colombia, and the ability to see these birds that when my first trip to Ecuador was in 1996, I think, and that was before the Hokotoko ant pitta was discovered. And now, if you guys have been to southern Ecuador and birding the Hokotoko Foundation reserves, um, it's a feeder bird. It comes to earthworms, and people get amazing photos. And that whole genesis of feeding stations and getting these uber rare forest birds to come out and you can get photographs of them. It's just amazing. So that chestnut wood quail is one of those, little tinamou, a very common bird in the tropics, but kind of hard to see.
Yeah,
If
let's
it,
look at pictures of that one.
and this bird just like wandered out of the forest into the feeding station. So though it's just exceptional to how birding has changed in the last 25 years. So I'm really excited to see those feeding stations. And as a photographer, you can't beat a feeding station where birds are coming to you.
There it is. It's feeding right there. Little Tinamu. My son spotted one of these when we were on a trip in Costa Rica as a family. I think the only reason he found it because he was really short then and was able to like see it at a different angle. There's no way I was going to find it. That's cool.
He wouldn't spot it today, huh, Luke?
No, he would not. No, he would not. Let me go back to the regular share here. Yeah, those trip reports are always fun to look through, and it's a unique way for us to, you could if you're ever interested in going on one of these tours, asking for a trip report like that, so you can see what birds might be there, what kind of photography opportunities you have.
I don't
Um,
know if we mentioned, Luke, did that first slide say that you're going to be accompanying us?
no, we did not say that, but yes, I will be in Colombia with you, Brian, and
Yeah.
whoever signs up for it. April of next year. It fits right in between Easter and my wife's birthday. So I'm not going to miss either of those.
That's
Yeah,
good.
and that's coming up pretty soon. So we still how many more spaces do
I
we have
think there's
available on
6
that?
spaces available, so there's still a lot of
Okay.
space available.
Yep. Yep. Fantastic.
And we're working on a itinerary that I think you said Matt Griffiths is going to join us on
Yeah, for
in
2027.
2027. Yeah, farther east, northeast in Colombia to the Llanos, where scarlet ibis is another possibility there, as well as lots of mountain birding to mix in, diversify your species list.
Yeah, I think people can get a feel like we do have a very Central South American flavor when it comes to a lot of our tours. And we want to give people some room to speak into that. But, there's something special about going and each one of these different countries has, and even within the country, unique birds that are there. Um, so, Brian, so you're local to Tucson. You're a Tucson Bird Alliance member and supporter. Um, yeah, what about doing these trips with Tucson Bird Alliance brings you the most joy?
Well, just sharing birds with people. That's what I took it as ultimate compliment when we did, Luke and I did the trip in January of 24 to Western Mexico. And then I can't remember if it was 8 of 10 or 10 of 12 people repeated the different trip with me and Danito this year. So we only had really 2 open spots with the trip to Belize this spring. And this year, for whatever reason, schedules and things like that, folks haven't jumped on Colombia, but we'll get a few new faces in there, I hope.
Yeah, and the good thing about Colombia is that I will not be driving a van for this one. Yeah, that was that was a lot of fun. Well, thanks so much, Brian. We really appreciate you and Victor Emmanuel Nature Tours. One of the things with Vent is that they were instrumental in helping Tucson Bird Alliance um, see the patent center come into our possession. So thank you so much for that. That means a lot. Oh, I forgot. Here's the golden front red start. It's a beautiful one.
Another
All
good
right.
one.
It
Thanks,
is.
Luke.
Yep. Thank you, Brian. All right. So here's the opportunity. I saw a few things come through chat, and I'm gonna let Danito kind of take us through the chat, or help us with the questions, but we want to open it up to you all. Specifically, if you have any questions about any of the upcoming tours that we have, whether it's Texas or Guatemala or Colombia or Peru, wherever we're going, or if you have ideas of places that you'd like to go in the future with us, or just any other general questions that we might be able to answer. So Danito, if you want to help us start off there, and then folks, if you do have a question, you can either put it in the chat or unmute yourself.
Yeah, so just starting from the questions that I already have in the chat, Catherine had a really good question asking, can vegan food be guaranteed on these trips? And maybe just besides vegan, just other dietary needs. Are those able to be met on these trips? What do you think, Luke?
Let's have Rob answer that, because as you all saw, Peggy, we celebrated her birthday and she got a cake. And Rob, what went into all that?
Well, I mean, we can handle most on most trips. Most of us are going to be able to handle most dietary restrictions. Vegan can be a little tricky depending on where you go. So I would say that more depends trip to trip than anything. But the lodges that all of us use around the world are great at adapting to pretty much any and all dietary restrictions. We had to make sure Peggy has some, and we had to make sure she had. We wanted to make sure she had a cake she could eat, not just the rest of us. That would have been, sad. But the lodge went out of their way to make sure that her dietary restrictions were being met, even when we were doing something special like a cake. So the dietary restrictions are definitely something we can work with.
Peg or Brian, you got anything else to add into there?
I don't know the Colombia lodges very well, but we have vent trips there that do all these lodges multiple times a year. So I can ask other vent leaders if that's a possibility with Colombia. I know that certainly that would be doable in Mexico and Belize, where we were previously. But it is the farther you get away from the US and kind of the West, the diet are more challenging. I won't shy away from that. And not just, I mean, it would be one thing if you stayed in Bogota or Cali, Colombia, but we're going out to the smaller lodges that are out in those remote areas, and it's a little more challenging for sure. But if someone has some specific requests about this Colombia itinerary, I'd be happy to investigate for them.
And Luke, this is Peg. I would second both of those replies, and I would just say, in general, Latin America is one of the easier countries to work with for vegan diet, and our hotels all want to try. So one thing we can do is make it possible to get some groceries upon arrival to amplify the proteins, etc. And so it really is a trip by trip basis, and we can, work with someone. But I think in general, you just can't expect the variety that a US based trip might promise for a vegan diet.
That makes a lot of sense. All right, thank you. I hope that answered your question, Catherine. Jean had a question just kind of about safety in Central America, asking just in general, are there any safety issues down there? She had heard specifically about Colombia being unsafe. So just Brian, I mean, maybe can you speak into just kind of when y'all travel into somewhere like that, how do y'all feel comfortable with that, and what do y'all consider? And just maybe touch on the safety aspect of traveling down there.
Yeah, I mean, you can't guarantee anything, anywhere in the world. I've seen things happen at Sweetwater wetlands. What I can guarantee you is you won't see a blue-winged mountain tanager at Sweetwater. So it's hard. There's no guarantees. Vent has been leading trips to Colombia, 2 to 6 trips a year. probably for 12 to 15 years, kind of since the FARC kind of laid down their arms. And so there's petty theft and crime everywhere. I I can't guarantee, and if any of the other leaders said they can guarantee your safety, I can't take them at their word. But we've been doing it for 15 years with North Americans, all over Peru, Ecuador, Colombia. And these things change, and we cancel tours. Last year we had to cancel trip to New Caledonia in the Pacific and Papua New Guinea with political unrest. And so we'll cancel trips if there's a problem. We obviously don't want to do that. Clients don't want to do that. But generally, we wouldn't offer a trip if we didn't think we could run it successfully. That's pretty good rule of thumb.
Yep. Thank you, Brian. And then, Peg and Rob, I mean, if y'all have anything to weigh in there that maybe Brian didn't touch on that, like you said, when you're traveling abroad, just kind of those safety considerations that y'all look into.
I think that's one of the big pluses about group travel is I'm not sure I'd go to Colombia and rent a car and zip all around and bird on my own. I'm not sure I would even do that in a lot of parts of Peru. But we just work so closely with a local operator and the local guides, and often they're from the communities we visit. So there's like a whole network behind the scenes that supports you on your trip. And so being with a group, your chances of having any incidents are far less than if you tried to do it on your own.
That's a great point, Peg. Thank you for bringing that up.
I just agree, Brian. Like Brian said, there's no guarantees with safety, and what we do as tour companies is try to mitigate those to the best of our ability, so things don't happen. Through what Peg said with local guides, having years of experience in countries, things like that, and you know, and then canceling a trip, like Brian said, if you have to. Safety is the biggest concern. So you do the things you have to do to keep people safe.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Sean had a question. The dates don't work out for him to going in December, but he is going to South Texas in October and was hoping that maybe a guide would be kind enough to make sure to mention a couple of spots that he should not miss. And then he also, Peg, he was curious if you had the name of the boat company that you referenced after landing in Corpus Christi. And then Catherine put in the chat that she's going on a tour with somebody named Captain Tommy in that area who was great. So I don't know if that's him, Peg, but if you have somebody else, please let us know.
Sure. No, we used Captain Tommy, and in the old days, we used Captain Ted, who was his father. So it's kind of a family operation. And one year, there was some issues with the boat and the weather, and we couldn't get out. And they went out and found us 3 locations we could view the whooping cranes on shore. They're just incredibly dedicated. So they'll get you out there, but book well in advance because they fill up. So you can book it online. And then a secret to all of you in on this video is go to Natural Journeys website or other tour companies and look in the trip reports. And every time we do a trip, we have a wonderful synopsis of where we've gone, where we've seen what birds, often comments about the hotels. So if you're going on your own to Texas in October, a great tool is one of our species lists from another year or one of our trip reports, and you still may catch a bit of the raptor migration if it's early October. So trip reports help a lot, and species lists.
Excellent. Thank you, Peg. Sounds like Captain Tommy's the guy down there. And then Peg, another question for you. This one's from Peter. You referenced driving in Peru. Were you talking about the notorious most dangerous road in the world? Was Peter's question.
No, I don't think that. I've never heard this road described that. There is a lot of truck traffic on it, which is kind of amazing. I mean, by a lot, maybe 4 trucks pass you a day on your little outing, and sometimes it's a little busier. But it's the standard road between Cusco down toward Villa Carma and the confluence with the river. But I don't have, it didn't scare me, but I'm used to driving up in the Chiricahuas on a minute's notice. It's a wider road than the road up Carr Canyon here. It's not paved, but it's really workable. And the main issue is landslides, and they have a ton of earth moving equipment. So sometimes there's a landslide and you have to wait a little while for the truck to come and clear you out, and then you're on your way.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Peg. One other question from the chat. This is from Kathy Anderson. Hello, Kathy. I didn't see you here. I'm glad you made it. Kathy said when she sees info on the Tucson Bird Alliance trip, she often has already made plans and obligations that conflict. Is there a way that people can get more advance noticed? Luke, I'll let you handle it.
Yeah, that one's on me. That's as soon as we are able to put things together with our companies, and sometimes that usually the delays with me. So the sooner that I'm able to get it up, and if you we often do share those as soon as we put it up. We try to share it out on our Saturday email. We'll try to promote it through social media as well. And then we also usually send it out to people who have shown interest or been on one of the international tours in the past. So we'll email them specifically about the opportunities that come up. And but yeah, check in the weekly email, clicking on that link every once in a while, or you can let Danito or myself know that, hey, when something gets posted, just send me an email and you can be added to that group of folks that we send it out to ahead of time.
Absolutely. So that's all the questions from the chat. We would like to hear where y'all would like to go. If anybody, if somewhere we haven't mentioned, somewhere that's not on the schedule, if someone has a hankering to go there, now's the time. We're looking for feedback. Like we said, y'all are the ones that kind of drive this. So we want to know where y'all want to go. So if anybody has an area in particular, you can either put it in the chat or you can just go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know. All right. Sounds like Colombia and Peru and Texas are are hits.
Do you
Kathy,
guys?
there we go.
Sorry.
Kathy says India. Kathy would like an India trip. Any chance for that on the horizon?
Well, Vint has several India itineraries, but I think one of the problems with that, and maybe part of the problem with the Uganda trip, is they're very expensive to get halfway around the world and to get the top flight services there. So maybe I don't know. That depends what Luke wants to kind of offer over the next few years. We've pretty much settled 2027, it sounds like, but in a matter of a couple of months, Vent is going to be working on 2028. So, what do you think?
Yeah, we're all, the idea is to plan out as far out as we can. So yeah, feel free, other locations that y'all are interested in, chat or speak up, and what we'll do is what I'm doing right now is I'm just writing them down, and then we'll talk with our partners and see what we can figure out together.
Excellent. So yeah, a couple other suggestions. Another one that would not require a passport, Puerto Rico. Catherine suggested a Puerto Rico trip. Get the feeling of leaving the country, but like I said, without the need of a passport. And then Barb, one of our Belize clients, Barb, it's great to see you on the chat, suggested Cuba, which I would imagine have a whole different set of travel considerations than Puerto Rico would, but that would be a great suggestion as well. Bringing Matt Griffiths back into the conversation, our colleague Matt Griffiths just returned from Cuba not too long ago, and he had nothing but great things to say about the birds there. Pamela threw out New Zealand. I know that would be a trip of a lifetime for several people.
I didn't, I heard someone trying to talk. We see who is.
Yep.
Oh, not Hawaii.
Not Hawaii was.
No. Did I hear someone trying to chime in with a question or a location? No, I thought I did. Sorry about that.
But Gary Bachman again, kind of talking about a little bit more local, not necessarily international, would be like maybe up to Alaska, the San Diego estuaries, the Animas Mountains. If you know somebody that can get us into the Animas Mountains, Gary, let me know. And then, yeah, Cindy says Hawaii would be somewhere. Gay says the Manu, I hope I'm correct saying that correctly, the Manu National Park in Peru. She would love to see a spatial-tailed hummingbird.
That's
These are wonderful
spatule tail.
Spatial, thank you.
It's got a postage stamp size world range in eastern foothills of Peru. It's crazy looking bird. Marvelous spatule tail.
And then Catherine has a great suggestion, I think. Again, not an international one, but maybe a trip up to McGee Marsh, spots in Ohio and Canada for spring migration of warblers.
I know someone who can do that, but the
Done that a
biggest
few
week at
times.
Birding Festival, and Rob and Saberwing work very closely with Black Swamp Bird Observatory to make that happen every May. What are the dates for that? We'll do a little plug for you,
I think we're
for Kathy.
we are the May 7th through the, let me see, hold on. Let me make sure I get the right.
That's
8th through
close.
the 17th.
8th through the 17th, Kathy. You and Mark would love it.
All right. And then let's see. And Cindy would like to see a harpy eagle. So where could Cindy, what trips, what countries could we go to see a harpy eagle?
This is Peg. I could chime in on that. There's now quite a few countries. Traditionally, people see them in Panama. A wonderful place is Guyana, because there's so many other species to see as well. But there are no nests in Ecuador. It's more a matter of where there are in their sequence on any given nest. So if you can find a country where guides have multiple chances, that's your best bet, because they have a very long nest cycle.
Excellent. That's good to know. Thank you, Peg. All right. Well,
Yeah.
we've got a couple of great suggestions. We really appreciate this feedback. Let's see if there's no other. Oh, Catherine's had another one, Costa Rica. I know that's always a popular spot, Costa Rica. Thank you for suggesting that one, Catherine.
Yeah,
And then
Danito, if I could just kind of wrap it up with this, is that you know, could you put at the end of the chat just one more time for everyone, just the link to the website for our partner trips, and then this whole thing is being recorded, so Danito is going to once that's all finished up, he's gonna share this with everyone who's signed up for this. So if you're on, you're gonna get this. And he will also have this link in the email as well. So if you can't grab it from the chat, and if you have trouble finding it on our website, you could go to our field trip page and you'll see it right there. But also he'll have this in the email that goes out to everyone in response to this with the recording. And you can always reach out to myself or Danito, or any of us really, about any questions that you have for upcoming tours. All the information is there on the website, and we'd love to have you along. Selfishly, I'd love to have you along with me in Colombia. And Jenny, selfishly, would love to have you along in Texas and Peru.
Yeah.
And we'd love to have you join us in Guatemala whenever that is in 2027. Man, I can't believe we're talking about 2027. That's crazy, but we definitely are. So thank you for all these different ideas of where to go in the future. We're pretty excited about it. And the best part about it is that we get to share it with our community. So thanks for being a part of that. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Peg. Thank you, Brian. You guys mean so much to us. Thank you, Jenny and Danito and Alexis, for taking time out of your life to go and be an ambassador on these. And thank you to all those who have joined us before in the past. I know a lot of you are signed up here for this. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you again soon. Any other from our speakers? Any last thought before we sign off?
No, thanks for doing this. I think it was a great way for people to get to know all of us.
I'll second that. Thanks, Donito, Luke. Good to see you, Jenny, Rob, Peg.
Good to see everyone, and it's so exciting as the world gets crazier and crazier. I think the joy of travel is all the deeper. It's so renewing to just get out of Dodge, and like I said, have the daily news be all about nature. It's like, did the wild dog separated from its pack ever get back? And did the blah blah blah? You just think about nature for a week, and it heals your soul. So I'd recommend signing up for a trip.
There we go. All right. Hey, thanks, guys. And we'll carry on and have a great rest of your day. Find some good birds and hope to see you real soon.
Thanks, Luke. Bye.
Thanks, Luke. Great
Take
job.
care.